Well, InfoWars fans are going to be in for a real treat with the return of The X-Files. Now, the 6-episode series is going to be airing on Netflix, and they're basing one of their main characters off of Alex Jones and InfoWars. Now, here is what the creator, Chris Carter, has to say. This character is eventually going to sway Mulder and Scully to adopt a new conspiracy that lays a framework for the whole entire series. The theories are going to evolve around global warming, war in the Middle East, NSA spying, chemtrails, which they're calling aerial contaminants, police militarization, supposed FEMA prison camps, and the eventual military takeover of America by a UN-like group of multinational elites. So, I mean, does that not sound exactly like they probably wrote this entire series based off of just watching InfoWars and listening to Alex Jones? He says this conspiracy theory plays a little bit like Oliver Stone during his JFK fever pitch, only if the source material was InfoWars instead of UFO lore. But the creator, he says, we live in a citizen-4 world now. We've given up certain rights and freedoms because we want the government to protect us after 9/11. We see the admitted spying by the government. These are not things we're making up, and it informs everything Mulder and Scully are doing. So this is pretty interesting. And also he admits that he thinks the UN takeover threat is actually quite plausible. He says the idea of a new world order is relevant. And when we suggest the show is embracing right-wing theories, he counters that. And he says, I don't see Alex Jones as right-wing. I see him as a libertarian. So this is going to be sounds like it's going to be a pretty good series, and I'm looking forward to it. It's actually going to return January 21st. We'll see if it ends up being a little bit more thought control. But coming up later in the show, Alex Jones is going to give his take on, what he sees as sort of this revival happening in Hollywood. As well, we're going to air an interview that Alex Jones did with Dean Haglund. He is obviously an actor there with the X-Files, but they spoke about 9/11 and an eerily similar lone gunman plot, which took place about 9 months before 9/11 actually happened. So that'll be coming up.
The third and final hour of this December 15th, 2005 Thursday edition. I got a surprise, I don't know, 6, 8 months ago, a year ago, I don't remember now, Dean, when Dean Haglund, who I'd watched on the X-Files and who I'd also seen on The Lone Gunman, and I talked about that particular pilot episode quite a bit because it's almost exact parallels with 9/11, when Dean Haglund gave me a call and said, hey, I'm in town.
Right. Well, Al, it's great to see you again, by the way.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I was an actor on The X-Files for 9 seasons, 10 years, plus our own spin-off, The Lone Gunman. I'm the one that looked like Garth from Wayne's World. Thank you very much for everyone who's listening. Yeah, I had the long blonde hair and the horn rim glasses and the rock T-shirts with the Ramones and all that sort of thing.
You were my favorite character, I have to say. I was always glad whenever the conspiracy theorist guys popped up.
That's right. And it was the writers like Chris Carter and they were listening to shows like yours and Art Bell and stuff to get a sense of how to write for us and how to do that. So you were major influences.
Wow, I'm flattered. I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. They were all keeping tabs on everything. Which made the show so relevant back then.
But I like that attention. It's better than attention from DynCorp.
Yeah, exactly. Though I just heard about that now, that you're a bit threatened by these guys.
Man, I tell you, these are the guys to be threatened by.
Well, this just is a testament to the good work you're doing. I mean, if you didn't have that kind of influence, they would just ignore you completely.
It actually just gives me the willies. That type of evil gives me just where does that come from? It's like another universe.
It is another. Well, and it's that level of fear on those corporate structure parts that just indicate that there's a huge cultural shift coming that I've seen over the last year. Since we talked in this documentary that I've been shooting. What I've found is that there is something larger going on that is phenomenal. That will, as you said, left, right's an illusion, all that. We're somehow having this ability to see past these illusions, to see past these power structures that will just, I think, tear down the walls.
Well, it's like selling icy, frosty lemonades in hell. I mean, 10, 11 years ago when I first got started, people were perceptive and receptive. but nothing. I mean, it's light years now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's almost a danger to that, though, because then people are so ready to, I'm wondering 2 weeks after the London bombing, is it a government operation? And then mainstream newspapers are saying it. So, but I'm also, though, seeing the discernment go up. People are also getting very discriminating, very selective. They're seeing through disinfo operations very quickly, which is very encouraging.
It is encouraging, and I think, it's sort of the 100 monkey theory. You know that one? There's a larger collective unconsciousness that we're all keen into. And once that happens, then, they can make all the threats they want, they can do all the sort of power grabs and pass all this legislation that turns it into a police state. I still believe that the larger consciousness, the publicists, will break through.
Oh, I agree. Let's talk more about that, because what did Gandhi say? First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, then you win. Mm-hmm. But the movement will win. I just wonder if I can survive the attack. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Dean Haglund, who again was the star of the X-Files, one of the main stars on the show for 9 seasons, 10 years, and of course the Lone Gunman pilot, and then 1 season, which I thought was better than the X-Files personally.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the writers did too, and they wanted to, bring up a lot more of the less the ghost stories and the poo monsters that they had in the X-Files, and go more into the conspiracy, but with the comedic edge, as a way of getting some of these serious things across, but in a lighthearted tone. Coast
to Coast AM, second biggest radio show in the country, it's shifted a lot out of the ghost stories and stuff into more of the New World Order stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And the writers were trying to take that show in that direction in an entertaining fashion, a way of bringing these ideas into the public forum.
Is that because that's what the fans and the public wanted, or is that because that's what you guys wanted?
I think it was a combination. The popularity of the Gunman had a large conspiracy contingent to it, and so they were going after that fan base and less from the shippers and the, who loved Mulder and who loved Scully kind of thing.
Your pilot episode, tell us about that plot.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a pilot episode for the Lone Gunman, where the basic plot was the gunman had to stop a plane from flying into the World Trade Center 8 months before it actually happened. So when we got the script, it said, plane, World Trade Center. They filmed an entire airplane. They had a green matte screen, so they put the shot of the New York skyline in with the plane flying directly at it, and just seconds before we get computer control, we get it back to the pilots, and the pilots can pull the plane up and avoid hitting the World Trade Center.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Alex Jones here with InfoWars Nightly News. We're going to be throwing it back to Leanne McAdoo here in the studio just in a few minutes, but we have some very, very exciting news. One of the biggest TV series in world history, sometimes getting as many as 55 million viewers per episode. That's close to the Super Bowl. The X-Files, after a decade of being gone, is coming back. And the creator, the producer, the director of many of the episodes, Chris Carter, has said what I was already told by Dean Haglund and other insiders from the original show, that a lot of it was based on the, quote, conspiracy theories that I, myself, and others developed, but also from Chris Carter's own research. Now, I'm not a big mainstream television watcher, but obviously I did watch some of the X-Files back when it was on television, and it didn't leave because it didn't have ratings. It left because I guess Carter wanted to do other things. Well, now he's coming back. He's given a big interview to Entertainment Weekly and said, hey, listen, world government's a real threat. I'm not making a show about right-wingers. I'm basing it on libertarian Alex Jones, who's one of the main characters that the 2 FBI agents come to learn what's happening. Geoengineering, chemtrailing, false flag terrorism, genetic engineering. Now remember, MIT Magazine yesterday admitted they're growing humans inside cows and inside sheep and pigs, just a few days ago. We've known about that gestation for decades, but now it's all being admitted. So there's really this point where the elite are announcing world government, they're announcing global taxation, they're announcing the war on the family. They've denied all this was happening forever. They denied the Federal Reserve was private, now they admit it. And now as we race towards a global financial implosion that the Royal Bank of Scotland said today is imminent. I'm not saying it's imminent, they are. I'm at risk of becoming passé. Really, because so much of what people didn't believe I was saying has come true. It was already true. It was in white papers, government documents, you name it. But it's amazing. Let's start scrolling through this if we can. Let's show folks the headline again in there in the control room. Fox X-Files reveal has controversial new theories. And then it goes through UN takeover, 9/11, and more. And you scroll down into the article, it says, they're like, hey, you're basing on Alex Jones, the right winger? And he says, no, he's a libertarian guy. And the UN world government, takeover is a real deal. And this is based on InfoWars. It says that lower down in the report. There it is. It says the conspiracy theory plays a bit like Oliver Stone during his JFK pitch, only if his source material was InfoWars instead of UFO lore. So before they were 80% UFOs, 20% government conspiracies. Now they're going to be 80% government conspiracies, 20% UFOs. And that's exactly what Coast to Coast AM did about 14 years ago under the leadership of George Norrie, which made the show even more successful, is they quit doing 90% space aliens and chupacabras and stuff. The show's on 600 stations, second biggest radio show in the world, 16 million listeners conservatively every night, just on terrestrial radio, not mentioning satellite or internet. It's more like 18 million. But new X-Files based on Alex Jones' InfoWars. We have the story reposted at Infowars.com for posterity. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I used to go out to Hollywood every few months. I used to be on Discovery Channel shows, history shows. I've been in a couple big Linklater movies. I got offers to be in other big movies. In fact, I was offered major, not top roles, but supporting actor roles just in the last decade. I mean, for big movies. And I said no for a reason. Hollywood has been totally controlled by propagandists. And I knew in the underground I had a better chance of putting out my ideas because the internet was a new open platform for that. And then I wouldn't be able to get my ideas through Hollywood. I needed to change the world and have others change the world first before I would be able to then do things through Hollywood. But the fact that Hollywood itself, and I talked to so many big directors, so many big actors, on air, off air, everybody from Viggo Mortensen, to you name it, that they are being suppressed and they're sick of not being able to come out and talk about what's really on their mind. A great example is The Last Captain America from Marvel. Most Marvel stuff is just pure mindless tripe. The Last Captain America, Winter Soldier, was incredible. I mean, it's exactly what we're facing. AI systems exterminating millions of Americans that are seen as individualists that won't go along with the corporate Borg takeover. So the fact that the X-Files creator is admitting and hat-tipping that much of what he's going to do is based off the theories that I bring out, and the fact that he said nice things about me shows how far we've come. And they're going to show my view, and then Carter's view, and then, because he talks about it, and then obviously someone else saying I'm full of bull, Scully. But it doesn't matter. The fact is that we've come to this point shows that we're super effective. I mean, look at these Facebook mentions we do, because we're simulcasting that right now as we tape for the Nightly News tonight. The average one is getting 500,000 views right now. In the last week, we've probably done 8 or 9 of these, over 10 million views. So the average is going up. We have videos that get 3 million views in one day, and that's just on a Facebook platform. Billions of views on YouTube. Tens of millions of listeners every week on terrestrial radio. The truth is, folks, we're already as big as the X-Files was in mainstream. So it's already happened. The huge success has already happened. It's just the establishment is trying to pretend like that's not going on and marginalize people that say, hey, Obamacare is written by foreign banks to double and triple prices. The Republicans wrote it. It's a screw job. They use Obama as their front to get it through. Or, hey, the government admits they want to take our guns. How dare them say that we're conspiracy theorists? It just doesn't work anymore. The people don't have confidence in the system anymore. It doesn't mean I have all the answers. It doesn't mean you have all the answers. But we know believing the same old story, going along with the establishment, is getting us nowhere. Donald Trump, whether he's good or bad, his huge success, his meteoric rise, being #1 for 6 months, looking like he's going to get the nomination, is due to the fact that people are in open revolt and rebellion, an uprising against the system. It could be a ham sandwich. They're going to support it when the establishment attacks it. Their endorsement of Trump is what kills him with the establishment. Now, to be clear, what I'm talking about here is when they attack Trump, because that's doublespeak, but that's how they think, that is an endorsement to the people. If they wanted to hurt Donald Trump, they would actually come out and endorse him and say that he was a great guy. That's how much credibility they've lost. So to be clear, when the system attacks Donald Trump, that is an endorsement, because the people hate the establishment and Congress with its 9% approval rating so much. So coming up tonight on the InfoWars Nightly News, Leanne will air this that we're taping right now. It's going out live on Facebook Mentions. And then she'll get into other really, really serious topics. I don't normally get up here and talk about issues that are dealing with entertainment, but I've said this more and more on air. We need to do this because 20% or so of the propaganda and brainwashing is in newspapers and on the nightly news and on international news. That's where they're engaged in their brainwashing. But so many people have just tuned out of mainstream media because they know it's deceptive, and they're getting their information from fiction, from Hollywood movies, from films, from books. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. It's a mix. So the real fight, though, is in the fiction. The real fight is going on shows like The X-Files. And so I'm going to sit back and watch and see what happens. But I hope they try to bring out some of these big topics, because NASA admits they're geoengineering the planet with chemtrails. They just call it geoengineering. The system admits they're adding virus stimulants to vaccines. They admit they're engaged in genetic engineering against the people. It's all, though, admitted dryly in white papers. What I do is cover it in a flamboyant and exciting way, because as a watchman on the wall watching enemies invade, I've got to yell and scream and blow trumpets to get people awake and to get people involved. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm not perfect, but I'm real, I'm unscripted, I'm teleprompter free, trying to promote a better, freer world. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you can get 6 months free at prisonplanet.tv, but only for 1 more week. Next Monday, the special that only comes around once a year ends. In fact, we've never offered 6 months free before, but I really want to get more people to join and to be able to watch the nightly news, to see the live reports we do, the special reports, all my films, ebooks, and so much more. One person can share their membership with 20 people, and you are funding the absolute very leading edge, the vanguard of the resistance to the globalist operation on every front. We have to have our own platform that is harder for them to censor, harder for the system to shut down. prisonplanet.tv. We put out the daily radio show free with the video and audio feeds at Infowars.com/show. But it is the members that get the nightly news exclusively and first, and the commercial-free video podcasts and audio podcasts that are paying it forward and financing and helping so many other people see the truth when we put the videos on Facebook, YouTube, and it's prisonplanet.tv that finances so much of the cameras, the equipment, the crew, the reporters. You are becoming a prisonplanet.tv member. You get exclusive HD, higher quality, get it first, and then you can download it, share it with friends and family, share your passcode with them, your username. It's a win-win, and then you're helping finance to put it out for free to everybody. prisonplanet.tv.
Another GOP debate is upon us.
When you had the World Trade Center go, people were put into planes that were friends, family, and they were sent back. They knew what was going on. They went home and they wanted to watch their boyfriends on television.
Who else would come back like that at the Bushes and the Clintons calling them criminals?
And
this
the
is
Saudis.
amazing. You guys go back to your live feeds.
You see, we don't have rights in America. Only the people who are outside of this country have a right. The only right that anybody has is to come live in America, presumably to live off of us if that's what they choose. They can come live off of us. They can come create war in our country. That's their right. But people in America don't have rights.
The first and most important priority of the President of the United States is to protect the safety and security of America.
No, it isn't. You're disqualified. You have an oath to the Constitution, and the oath to the Constitution says, and the Declaration of Independence says, you are created to protect our freedoms.
Right.
Not to keep us safe. They didn't want safety. They wouldn't have rebelled against the strongest government in the world if their first priority was safety. Their first priority was liberty. They created a government to protect that. I'm sick of these people.
If we want to defend the country, we have to defend against who's coming in. And Marco has more of an allegiance to Chuck Schumer and to the liberals than he does to conservative policy.
Do you really think that Republicans have fueled the rise of ISIS?
I think
Yeah,
that
where's she
by
been? Who is
arming
she?
the allies of
Where the-
ISIS, the Islamic
What's she
rebels
been
against
doing?
Assad, that we created a
is
safe
this
space,
bimbo?
or made that space bigger for ISIS to grow.
We know what's going on. We know these guys are running ISIS. And when they talk about shutting down freedom of speech, he just repeated the exact same stuff he said in his speech. Even talking about how you don't refer to these people as masterminds, he knows precisely what he's saying. These are a bunch of Morlocks, and the American people are a bunch of Eloi. When they talk about serving America, you're on the menu.
Join InfoWars January 14th, starting at 7 p.m. Central for another episode of Political Science Theater 3K.